The music was loud, but my heart was louder. I stood on the rooftop with a drink I hadn't touched, watching Madison laugh under the string lights. I told myself, tonight I would finally ask her where we were going. I walked closer and said, "Madison, can we talk for a second?" She smiled without warmth. "Say it here. Everyone's listening anyway." Ryan Cole leaned toward me and whispered, "You good, man?" "I'm fine," I said, even though my throat felt tight. I faced Madison. "I just wanted to ask about us. About the future." She laughed. Not nervous.
Not shy.
Just amused. "You're serious right now?" Chloe Bennett raised her brows. "Madison, don't." Madison waved her off. "No, it's okay. This is actually funny." She looked around at the people watching. "Ethan thinks we're something." My face burned. "I never said that." "You didn't have to," she said. "You follow me like a shadow." I swallowed. "I care about you." "That's the problem," she replied. "You care too much." Someone snorted. Someone else whispered my name. I heard it all. Ryan stepped forward. "Madison, that's harsh." She shrugged. "I'm just being honest." She looked at me again. "I would never date someone like you. Not publicly." The word publicly hit hardest. I said, "Then why were you with me at all?" She smiled like I'd missed a joke. "Convenience. You were quiet. Safe." Chloe muttered, "This is messed up." Madison laughed again. "Relax. It's not that deep." My hands shook. "You could have told me in private." "And miss this?" she said, gesturing around. "People should know." Silence followed. No one defended me. No one met my eyes. Ryan said softly, "Ethan, let's go." I looked at Madison one last time. "Is there anything real between us?" She tilted her head. "You really don't get it, do you?" That was my answer. I nodded slowly. "Okay." She blinked. "That's it."
I felt something shut down inside me.
"Yeah, that's it." I set my drink on the table untouched. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult her. I just turned away. Madison called after me, "Don't be dramatic." I didn't respond. Ryan followed me to the elevator. "Man, say something. Don't let her do you like that." "I'm done talking," I said. "You're just going to walk away?" "Yes." The elevator doors opened. As I stepped inside, I heard laughter behind me again. The doors closed, and the noise disappeared. The silence felt heavy, but also clear. I stared at my reflection in the mirrored wall. My eyes looked hollow. I whispered, "Never again." The elevator dinged. I walked out alone, knowing everyone upstairs would remember the scene. But I knew something else too. They would never hear my voice again. I didn't text Madison. I didn't post anything. I didn't explain myself to anyone. I just vanished. My phone buzzed all night, face down on the table. I stared at it and whispered, "Not today." The next morning, Ryan called. "Bro, everyone's talking." "I know," I said. "You gonna clear it up?"
"No." He sighed.
"That silence is loud, man." "I want it loud," I replied. At work, people avoided my eyes. One guy muttered, "That was rough." I kept walking. Inside, Madison's voice replayed, "I would never date someone like you. Not publicly." I clenched my jaw and kept typing. My phone lit up. "Madison, we need to talk." I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, "Madison, don't be immature." I locked the screen. At lunch, I sat alone. Her laugh echoed in my head. Chloe's weak protest followed. Then nothing. I kept hearing the silence after the laughter. That hurt most. That night, my cousin Daniel Harris knocked on my door. "You look like hell." "I feel worse," I said. He sat down. "Why didn't you fight back?" "Because I was tired." "Tired of what?" "Begging to be respected." He nodded. "Silence can be power, Ethan. Or poison." "I know." He leaned forward. "So, which is it for you?" I stared at my phone. Another message buzzed. "Madison, you're really doing this?" "I don't know yet," I told him. Daniel said, You don't owe explanations to people who laughed at you. I swallowed. It feels like I'm losing. You already lost when you stayed quiet for her comfort, he replied. Now you're choosing yourself. After he left, I sat on the floor. My chest felt heavy. I whispered, why wasn't I enough? Her words answered back. You care too much. I opened my messages again. Madison, say something. I typed, erased, typed again. Nothing felt right. I deleted the draft. Another flashback hit. Her smile. The crowd. The word publicly. I pressed my palms to my eyes. Stop, I told myself. The next day, Chloe texted. I'm sorry. That wasn't okay. I replied. I know. That was all. Madison called. I watched it ring until it stopped. She called again. I let it ring longer. A voicemail came through. Ethan, you're hurting me now. I laughed softly. Good, I said to the empty room, then hated myself for it. At work, Ryan whispered, she's freaking out. I'm not doing this for her, I said. That night, I muted her contact. The silence felt sharp, but clean. I stopped checking who believed what. I stopped correcting lies. I stopped defending my dignity. Another message slipped through before the mute fully worked. Madison, I didn't mean it like that. I finally spoke, but only to myself. You meant it. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. Shame pressed down on me. Anger burned underneath. Doubt tried to crawl back in. But beneath all of it was something new.
Control.
I chose silence not because I was weak, but because I needed to survive what her voice did to me. And for the first time since that rooftop, the quiet didn't feel empty. It felt like mine. I stopped waiting for mornings to feel better. I started staying late at work instead. Ryan noticed first. He said, "You're still here?" I answered, "I like the quiet." That wasn't a lie. Spreadsheets didn't laugh at me. Deadlines didn't judge me. When the office emptied, my thoughts slowed. I worked, saved files, shut down, and walked out alone. At night, I went to the gym. The lights were harsh and honest. That's where I met Liam Foster. He watched me struggle through a set and said, "You're lifting like you're angry." I said, "I am." He nodded.
Good.
"But don't let it break you." I came back the next night. "You again?" he asked. "I need this," I said. He replied, "You need discipline, not punishment." I didn't argue. I just lifted. Between sets, he asked, "Why so quiet?" "I'm tired of explaining myself." "That's fine," he said. "But don't disappear from your own life."
His words stayed with me.
I trained, showered, went home, and read until my eyes burned. Books didn't interrupt me. Pages waited. I underlined sentences about focus, about patience, about rebuilding from loss. I didn't feel strong yet, but I felt busy, and busy helped. My phone kept trying to pull me back. Madison posted stories almost every night. Smiling photos, party clips, captions like growth and unbothered. Ryan texted, "She wants you to see this." I replied, "I won't." One night, Liam said, "You checking your phone between sets?" "No," I said. "Good," he replied. "Train your body. Let your mind catch up." I pushed harder. My arms shook. Sweat burned my eyes. "Why does it still hurt?" I asked. "Because you cared," he said. "That doesn't make you weak." I feel stupid. Only people who feel nothing think that. At work, my manager said, "Your output's up." I answered, "I needed structure." He said, "Keep it up." No applause. No spotlight. I liked it that way. Madison messaged again. "You're really pretending I don't exist." I read it once and closed the app. Another post went up minutes later. Ryan said, "She's spiraling." I said, "I'm not responsible." At the gym, Liam corrected my form. "Stand straight," he said. "Own the weight." I laughed without humor. "That's the problem," I told him. "I gave too much away." He answered, "Then take it back." I started sleeping better. Not well, but better. I dreamed less about the rooftop. When the memory came, It didn't knock me flat anymore. It sat beside me, quiet. One evening, Liam asked, "What are you running from?" "I'm not running," I said. "I'm building." "Then keep building," he replied. "Don't look back for approval." Madison liked an old photo of us. A test. A hook.
I didn't bite.
I muted her posts. The screen went calm. My chest followed. I stood in the locker room mirror and barely recognized myself. Not because I looked different, but because I stood still. No flinching. No rehearsed speeches. I told myself, she never knew this version of me. And maybe that was the point. I wasn't trying to win. I wasn't planning revenge. I was learning how to stay. How to breathe without asking permission. How to let silence protect me instead of erase me. When I left the gym that night, Liam said, "Same time tomorrow?" "Yeah," I said. "Same time." I walked home under quiet streets, phone dark in my pocket, muscles sore, mind steady. The hurt was still there, but it no longer led. I was growing, and for the first time, I didn't need anyone to see it. I was leaving the gym when I heard my name. Ethan. I stopped because the voice shook. I turned and saw Madison standing by the door. Her smile was gone. Her eyes searched my face like she was afraid of what she'd find. "I didn't know if you'd stop," she said. "I didn't know you'd be here," I replied. She crossed her arms. "Can we talk?" I nodded. "You're talking now." She swallowed. "I'm sorry." The word landed flat. "For what?" I asked. "For how things went," she said quickly. "I shouldn't have said those things." I waited. She added, "I was drunk. Everyone was watching." I panicked. "So you laughed," I said. She flinched. "I didn't mean it like that." I said, "You meant it enough to say it." She looked away. I was scared. "Of me?" I asked. "Of being seen wrong," she said. "Of being stuck." I nodded once. "That's honest." She stepped closer. "I didn't think you'd disappear. I didn't think you'd enjoy hurting me," I said. Her voice dropped. "I never wanted to hurt you," I replied. "Intent doesn't erase impact." She rubbed her hands together. I lost control. I said, "No. You showed it." Her eyes filled. "I'm trying to fix this." I asked, "By saying sorry now?" "Yes," she said. "Isn't that how it works?" "For you," I said. "Not for me." She exhaled sharply. "You're different." "I had to be," I replied. She glanced over her shoulder. A man waited near the curb, scrolling his phone. She said, "Jason's waiting." "That's your boyfriend?" I asked. "Yes," she said, defensive. "At least he shows up." I said calmly, "He didn't just show up. He watched you chase someone else." Her jaw tightened. "You don't know him." "I don't need to," I replied. "I know how you look right now." She whispered, "He yells." I didn't react. "He checks my phone," she added. "He hates when I talk about you." I said, "Then don't." Her voice cracked. "You used to listen." "I still do," I said. "I just don't rescue anymore." She reached out, then stopped. "I'm afraid, Ethan." "I know," I said. "I hear it." She searched my face. "So what now?" "Now," I repeated. "Nothing." She shook her head. "You can't just shut me out." "I already did," I said. Tears slipped free. I said, "I'm sorry." "I heard you," I replied. "It's just late." She whispered, "I miss you." "I miss who I was before that night," I said. "Not us." Jason called. "Madison, come on." She turned, then faced me again. "Say something. Yell at me. Do anything." I met her eyes. "I don't need to." Her shoulders slumped. "So that's it." "Yes," I said. She nodded slowly, like she finally understood. "You're not the same?" "No," I agreed. "And neither are you." She walked away without another word. Jason grabbed her arm. She didn't pull back. I didn't look at them again. As I walked home, I felt steady. No rush. No urge to explain. Her apology echoed once, then faded. The power didn't come from winning. It came from choosing not to stay where respect was optional. And for the first time, I meant it. I didn't follow Madison's life, but pieces reached me anyway. Ryan said, "You hear about her?" I answered, "No." He hesitated. "Jason's not great." I shrugged. "That's not my story." At lunch, Chloe sat across from me. She said quietly, "I didn't know if I should talk to you." I replied, "You already are." She nodded. "She's not okay." I said, "Neither was I." Chloe looked down. "I know." She stirred her drink. "Jason yells in public." I didn't react. "He checks her phone," she continued. "People are uncomfortable." I said, "They were uncomfortable that night too." Chloe winced. "That's fair." Ryan later whispered, "She quit coming out." I said, "Good." He frowned. "That sounded cold." I answered, "It's honest." One evening, Chloe texted me, "Can we talk?" I replied, "Sure." We met at a quiet cafe. She said, "I always envied her." I asked, "Why tell me this?" She replied, "Because I respected you. You never begged." I said, "I begged once." She shook her head. "Not like others. You left." She paused. "She hated that." I smiled sadly. "So did I." Chloe leaned in. "She keeps asking about you." I said, "Tell her I'm busy." She nodded. "She misses who she was with you." I replied, "I miss who I was before her." At work, Ryan showed me a post. Madison's smile looked forced. The caption read healing. I handed the phone back. "I don't need updates." He said, "You're stronger than me." I replied, "I'm just quieter." That night, guilt crept in. I asked myself, am I enjoying this? I didn't have a clean answer. Part of me felt relief. Another part felt heavy. I whispered, "This wasn't my plan." The silence didn't argue. A week later, Chloe called. "She cried last night." I said, "I'm sorry." She asked, "Are you?" I paused. "I'm sorry she's hurting. I'm not sorry I left." Chloe exhaled. "That makes sense." Jason showed up at my gym once. He said, "You, Ethan?" I replied, "Yes."
He smirked.
"Thought so." I said, "Do you need something?"
He scoffed.
"Stay out of my relationship." I met his eyes. "I already am." He walked away angry. Liam asked, "Everything okay?" I said, "Yeah." He nodded. "You handled that clean." I replied, "I don't fight battles that aren't mine." Madison texted me late one night. "I don't recognize my life." I stared at the screen. My chest tightened. I typed, erased, typed again. I didn't send anything. I placed the phone down and breathed. Ryan asked the next day, "You ever feel bad?" I answered, "Every day." He said, "Then why not help?" I replied, "Because helping cost me myself." Chloe sent one last message. She asked why you won. I replied, "I didn't." Chloe said, "It feels like you did." I wrote back, "Karma doesn't rush. It just remembers." Walking home, I felt both light and heavy. I didn't celebrate her pain. I didn't chase it away either. I accepted it as something I couldn't control. I didn't need revenge. Distance was enough. And somewhere between guilt and relief, I understood something simple. Silence wasn't cruel. It was honest. Mr. Robert Hayes called me into his office on a Monday morning. He said, "Sit down, Ethan." I did. He folded his hands and said, "I've been watching your work." I replied, "I just focus." He nodded. "That's why I'm promoting you." I blinked. "Seriously?" He smiled. "Consistency matters." I walked out feeling steady, not shocked. Ryan grinned. "You earned it." I said, "I stayed." He laughed. "That's growth." That evening, I met Emily Carter at a bookstore cafe. She said, "You're quieter than most people." I replied, "I listen." She smiled. "I like that." We talked without rushing. She asked, "What do you want?" I said, "Peace." She nodded. That's honest. Weeks passed. Emily didn't push. She didn't test me. She said things like, take your time, and meant it. One night, she asked, who hurt you? I answered, someone who doesn't matter anymore. She didn't ask names. At work, Mr. Hayes said, leadership isn't loud. I replied, neither am I. He smiled. Exactly. Emily and I walked through a park. She said, you don't perform. I asked, is that bad? She replied, it's rare. I felt seen without being exposed. Then Madison saw us. She stopped on the sidewalk and stared. Ethan? I turned. Hi. She looked at Emily. You look happy. I said, I am. Madison blinked like the ground shifted. Emily asked, do you need a minute? I said, no. Madison said softly, you changed. I answered, I chose myself. She studied my face. You're calm. I replied, I worked for it. Emily squeezed my hand. Madison noticed. She whispered, I don't recognize you. I said, that's okay. Jason waited across the street, watching. Madison glanced back, then said, I miss this version. I replied, you never met him. Emily said gently, we're late. I nodded. As we walked away, Madison called, Ethan. I didn't turn. Emily asked, does that hurt? I said, less than before. She said, good. Later, Emily said, you don't owe explanations. I replied, I learned that the hard way. She smiled. The best lessons usually are. That night, I stood in my apartment and felt full without noise. My promotion email sat unread. Madison's number stayed muted. Emily texted, thank you for today. I replied, thank you for listening. I realized something simple. Love didn't need an audience. And the man I became without her was finally someone I respected. Madison waited outside my office building like she belonged there. When she saw me, she said, Ethan, please. I stopped because I wanted this to end clean. I said, you have 5 minutes. She nodded fast. Thank you. She said, I've been thinking a lot. I replied, that's new. She flinched but kept going. I know I hurt you. I said, you did. She swallowed. But look at you now. You're stronger. I waited. She added, I think I pushed you to become this. I shook my head.
No.
She frowned. What do you mean? I mean you don't get credit for damage, I said. You didn't build me. Her voice rose. I motivated you. You embarrassed me, I replied. There's a difference. She stepped closer. If I hadn't done that, you'd still be hiding. I said calmly, you didn't reveal me. You broke me. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't know you'd leave. That's the problem, I said. You never thought I would. She whispered. I was scared. I was humiliated, I replied. She grabbed my sleeve. I regret it. I removed her hand. Regret isn't repair. Her voice shook. I lost everything. I said, you lost control. She cried openly now. I miss you. I answered. You miss how I made you feel safe. That's not fair, she said. It's honest, I replied. She wiped her face. You don't hate me. No, I said. I don't. She looked hopeful. Then why can't we try again? Because I remember, I said. And you were right. She sank onto the bench behind her. I tell myself you needed it. I said, that's how you sleep.
She sobbed.
I'm sorry. I stayed quiet. She looked up. Say something. I said, I already did. She cried harder. I would take it back. You can't, I replied. And even if you could, I wouldn't go back with you. Her voice broke. I hate who I am now. I nodded. So did I. She whispered, you don't need me anymore. I never needed pain, I said. She stared at the ground. You rebuilt yourself. Yes, I said. Alone. She looked up through tears. So, what am I to you now? I answered. A lesson I won't repeat. She stood slowly. I wanted to matter. You did, I replied. Just not the way you wanted. She took a step back. This hurts. I know, I said. She waited like she expected comfort. I gave none. After a long silence, she said, Goodbye, Ethan. I nodded. Goodbye. She walked away shaking. I watched until she turned the corner, then I looked forward again. My phone buzzed. Emily texted, You okay? I replied, Yes. And I meant it. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel cruel. I felt finished. Madison didn't need my forgiveness to heal. And I didn't need her regret to move on. Silence stayed with me, calm and solid. It still had the final word. I didn't wake up feeling victorious. I woke up calm. That mattered more. My phone buzzed with a message from Ryan. You see the comments? I replied. No, he said. People finally noticed. I typed. I noticed a while ago. At work, someone whispered. That's Madison, right? I didn't turn. Mr. Hayes said, Stay focused. I answered, Always. He nodded like he understood more than he said. At lunch, Chloe sat beside me. I owe you an apology. I replied, You don't. She shook her head. I stayed quiet too. I said, We all do sometimes. She hesitated. She's not coming around anymore. I said, That happens.
Chloe sighed.
Her reputation's rough. I answered, So is mine. She looked down. I didn't think silence could do this. I replied, Neither did I. Later, Ryan showed me a screenshot. Madison arguing with someone online. The comments were cruel. I handed the phone back. Delete that, he asked. You don't want proof? I said, I don't need it. That night, I sat alone and opened my gallery. Old photos stared back. Smiles I once trusted. I said out loud, You stayed too long. I selected them one by one and deleted them. The phone felt lighter. Emily called. You're quiet tonight. I replied, I'm clearing space. She said, For what? I smiled. For peace. She said softly, I'm proud of you. I closed my eyes. That means something. I walked past the rooftop where it started. The lights were off. No music. No crowd. I stood there and whispered, I forgive myself. The words didn't echo. They settled. Ryan texted again. Jason moved out. I replied, Okay. He said, She's blaming everyone. I typed, That's familiar. He sent, You're cold. I answered, I'm done bleeding. At the gym, Liam said, You look lighter. I replied, I dropped weight I wasn't meant to carry. He nodded. Good. He paused. You ever think about revenge? I said, I did. He asked, and I replied, It didn't need me. Chloe messaged later. She asked why you never fought back. I typed, Because I didn't want to become her. Chloe sent, That answer hurt. I replied, Truth does. Emily met me for coffee. She said, You seem different today. I answered, I closed a door. She asked, Locked. I smiled. Removed. She laughed quietly. That's healthier. Madison tried one last time. A long message. Apologies tangled with excuses. I read it once. I didn't reply. I deleted it. The silence didn't feel cruel. It felt complete. I realized revenge had never been loud. It wasn't confrontation or victory speeches. It was absence. It was not showing up to be wounded again. It was letting time do the work I refused to do myself. At home, I looked in the mirror. I said, You survived. My reflection didn't argue. I remember the night I stayed when I should have left. I forgave that version of me. He didn't know better. I do now. Emily texted, Want dinner tomorrow? I replied, Yes. Simple. Easy. No fear. Madison's downfall wasn't my success. My peace was. I didn't plan her fall. I didn't enjoy it. I just stepped aside. Victory didn't cheer. It didn't clap. It sat quietly with me. And that was enough. I woke up and didn't check my phone. It was quiet. That alone felt like a gift. Emily texted morning. I replied morning. Simple. No guilt. No panic. Silence first thing in the morning no longer felt empty. It felt intentional. At work, Mr. Hayes said, "Good morning, Ethan." I smiled. "Good morning." He added, "You've been steady lately." I shrugged. "I like it that way." Ryan leaned over. "You really are different." I replied, "I just stopped arguing with people who don't matter." During lunch, Emily met me. "You're calm today," she said. I answered, "I've learned calm is louder than noise." She smiled. "It suits you."
We didn't need small talk.
The silence between us carried more than words ever could. Later, I passed by the rooftop where everything started. The lights were off. Empty chairs. No music. I whispered to myself, this place doesn't have power over me anymore. A memory of Madison's laughter flared briefly. I let it pass. No anger, no longing, just awareness. Ryan called that night. "Did you see her post?" I asked, "Which one?" He laughed softly. "Madison. She's spinning again." I said, "Good for her. Not my problem." He hesitated. "Don't you feel anything?" I replied, "I feel peace." He was silent.
Peace. I said, "Yeah."
Not revenge, not hurt, not shame.
Peace.
Emily said, "I noticed you're not reactive anymore." I replied, "I stopped giving power to chaos." She nodded. "It's impressive." I smiled faintly. "It's freeing." Chloe texted later.
She's asking about you.
I typed, "I'm living." That was it. No explanation. No old feelings. Just the present. Chloe sent a thumbs up. That small symbol carried more respect than words ever could. At home, I stood by the window. I remembered the rooftop, the crowded party, her words echoing. I pressed my hand to the glass. "I survived that," I whispered. Not because I had fought, not because I had screamed, but because I had walked away. Silence was my weapon, my shield, and my teacher. Emily called. "Dinner tomorrow?" I answered, "Yes." I felt no obligation, no expectation, just calm. I realized I had stopped seeking validation from anyone, especially Madison. Messages from her appeared briefly, muted. "I miss you." I didn't read them. I didn't need them. They were echoes from the past that no longer reached me. I walked through the city streets that night.
Quiet.
Cool air on my face. I said aloud, "This is freedom." My reflection in the shop windows no longer showed a man broken by words or pride. It showed someone who had rebuilt himself quietly, deliberately, and completely. Ryan asked, "Do you think she understands?" I replied, "It doesn't matter." He said, "So you forgive her?" I nodded.
Yes.
Not for her, but for me. At the gym, Liam said, "You carry yourself differently." I said, "I carry myself without apology." He smiled. "Finally." I laughed softly. "Finally." At home, I cleared old photos and messages from my phone. Each deletion felt like a weight leaving me. I whispered, "I am enough." The words had meaning now. Emily's text came again. "You okay?" I typed, "I'm free." That single word felt heavier than any argument, any apology, any revenge I could have imagined. I stood on my balcony, looking at the city lights. I thought of Madison, of Jason, of the past. None of it hurt anymore. I didn't wish her pain. I didn't crave attention. I didn't need validation. Silence had become my strength, my calm, my identity. I whispered one last time, "This is mine. I am mine." No one watched. No one cheered. The street below continued without notice. And that was perfect. Silence had never been weakness. It had been my rebirth. I exhaled, finally complete. I was free.